Hello. Hi, everybody. Welcome in. Hello to the people in chat, and hello to the people who are watching on replay. How are you? Okay, so I have a little mini health update. So yesterday I went to the orthopedist. I got my cast taken off. I had a nightmarish experience getting the staples removed from my leg. My leg was stapled on both sides. And I won't give you any details because there's no need, okay? Suffice to say that it was extremely painful. And my leg, I think I told Karsten that my leg looked like a prop from a horror movie. It looked like I had zippers up and down both sides of my leg, And I got fitted with a walking boot, which has like an inflatable platform in the sole. So it felt like walking in space. So it's taken a bit of getting used to. But at least now I'm a lot more mobile than I was a week ago. So that's a positive development. So that's what's going on with the leg. Other than that, I have no updates. So anyway, let's move on, shall we? I am trying to, hi Lexi, I am trying to determine whether or not I should even say what I'm about to say. But, why not? What the hell, right? So, one of the side effects that I noticed when I was on chemo back in 2013, 2014, was that I became very, very blunt. There's something that happens when your brain is flooded with toxins, and you become very foggy, but also it kind of takes your filters away. So, before I get to that point this year, I will make absolutely sure that I stop streaming because I don't think that there are certain people who really want to hear what I actually have to say. And it's better if I keep it to myself and focus on what actually matters. And what actually matters is not this internet drama, but what actually matters is focusing on getting well and just, moving forward. So, and if all else fails, I will see if Negz can figure out a way to disconnect the router remotely, which is silly. That's a silly thing for me to say because honestly, I'm going to get to a point where I forget that I have a YouTube channel or I forget how to set up a stream in StreamYard. So I don't think that you're going to be seeing me getting on here and letting loose, like I said, I'm just going to keep my eye on the ball and just focus on things that are actually important. So, but we're making progress slowly but surely, and I am grateful for that. I did not expect to be in a boot this soon. Also, I got the stitches taken out of my forehead, so I have a very fetching scar. Hi, Dub Kitty. Right next to my my left eyebrow. And I wish that I could make up a really harrowing tale and an interesting story about how I got it. Although my traffic accident, I think, was harrowing and interesting enough. But okay, so we're going to move on now. I have been putting off this stream for a very, very... Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. I should have made a list of topics that I wanted to cover today. I just wanted to mention that I don't know if you guys have noticed, but Joe Rogan has been under fire recently. First by Douglas Murray and then by Jordan Peterson. And I think that their critiques were valid. So it's worth mentioning. As we've seen an erosion in trust of the mainstream media, for very, very good reason, by the way. We've seen a rise in the alternative media. Hi, Nietzsche, how are you? Live streaming, podcasts, that kind of stuff, which means that now there are certain voices that have a lot of impact and a lot of influence. And now they bear a responsibility to shepherd their platforms responsibly. And basically what Rogan was warned about was that he needs to be more conscientious when it comes to vetting his guests. There is absolutely nothing wrong, as Jordan Peterson said, there's nothing wrong with being curious, having an open mind, wanting to see all sides of a story. But there's something very wrong in exposing your enormous community to cranks, weirdos, and other unsavory types of people. And that is exactly what Rogan has been doing for months. And I thought that Peterson's criticisms were very valid. And of course, that means that the Rogan diehards have now turned on Jordan Peterson. So here we go again, right? But he was absolutely correct. And trying to use the fig leaf excuse of, oh, well, that person, that person's just a comedian. That person is just, they're not really a historian. Okay, they just read a lot and they have a lot of opinions. Okay, well, okay, that's fine. But at the same time, a lot of cranks have opinions. And you need to be aware of these cranks. You really do. And it seems like Joe Rogan does very little research and very little vetting of these guests. And it's troubling. I mean, I haven't listened to Rogan in years, but I see the clips on Twitter and they're very, very troubling to me. Very troubling. Exactly, Dub Kitty. That's the problem. That is exactly the problem. It makes people curious. It makes people look into what these people have written. And I'm sorry, but if you are going to go on an enormous podcast, a very influential podcast, and you are going to forward the theory that Churchill was the actual villain of World War II, and that Hitler was just totally misunderstood, and he wasn't actually an anti-Semite, I'm sorry, but those views should be limited to places like Stormfront and, other crank websites, and not be given an airing on Rogan's show. That is my opinion. It is insane and irresponsible. Hang on, let me see if I can turn on the fan in this room. Okay, the fan is on. Now, let's get on to Idubbbz and Ethan Klein, Ethan and Hila Klein. So for those of you who haven't been around forever, or people who don't live on the internet, Idubbbz's internet career goes back around a decade, I would say. And he was one of these edgy boy comedian types on the platform. Loved to drop, N-bombs and other naughty language. And he was best known for creating a series called Content Cop, where he would focus on controversial YouTubers who had fucked up, stepped out of line, grifted, whatever. So he's done Content Cops on Leafy is Here, on Keemstar, on Tana Mongeau, blah, 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 blah. And a few years ago, Idubbbz had a crisis of conscience, had kind of a road to Damascus experience, and uploaded an apology to his channel for his Content Cop videos, and said that he was way too nitpicky, and that who did he think he was uploading this type of content and criticizing other YouTubers, and that basically it was like a goodbye. It was like a goodbye letter to his old audience, and he heavily tried to distance himself from the character that he was on YouTube and reinvented himself as a woke sort of SJW kind of person. And some people blame Idubbbz's wife for this transformation. I don't entirely blame her. She probably had a lot of influence over him. But he said that he discovered empathy at the age of 32, which is an extraordinary admission to make, and that his content going forward was not going to be similar to the content that put him on the map. Well, recently he decided to pull Content Cop out of the mothballs, and he decided that his first target was going to be Ethan and Hila Klein. Now, I want you to remember, as we're watching this video, that they were actual friends in real life, okay? Idubbbz and his wife, Anissa, have been to the Kleins' home. They know the Kleins. When Anissa started an OnlyFans, and Idubbbz was being raked over the coals and dragged, and so was the wife, the Kleins stepped forward to defend them. They sponsor, Idubbbz and Anissa sponsor this lame sort of boxing event every year called Creator Clash. I think it's been every year. They're on to Creator Clash 3 now. And it's just one of these shitty influencer boxing events, And Ethan and Hila really promoted these events. Now, there's been some fuck shit with these events, because the one last year, the last one, Creator Clash 2, was supposed to raise money for charity, and there was no money given to charity. And I don't know if it's quite as egregious as the Diane St. Jude's Hospital scandal, but Idubbbz and his wife have shelled out a lot of money to put these events on. And it looks like this year's event is going to be a giant flop. It's supposed to take place in June, so we don't know. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know the outcome. But basically, yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's right. $250,000 loss. And yet, they managed to scrounge together the money to do an event this year. Now, they're facing a couple of problems. The biggest one is that Jake Paul has scheduled a boxing event of his own on the same day, which I think is going to blow Creator Clash out of the water. And there's been zero effort on the part of Idubbbz's wife or his so-called friends online to promote this event. So the ticket sales are pretty crappy. And there are all kinds of issues with refunds for tickets, pay-per-view, whatever. So it's not looking good as of now, but we're still in April. A lot could happen. Anyway, so Idubbbz releases this Content Cop, and he is immediately dragged by everybody. Even Airsoft Fatty and Ricky Berwick jumped into this story. And he is being roundly criticized because in the past, Content Cop has focused on people that were in the circle, like big YouTube content creators, but they didn't really have a personal relationship with Idubbbz. Now, he's going after real-life friends, and there are a lot of lessons to take away from this. Lessons about betrayal, because this is ultimately the message that people are taking away, that Idubbbz and Anissa are terrible friends, that they will stab you in the back, that they will lie, that they will use selective editing, that they'll put up out-of-context quotes to try and bring you down. And Ethan, without lifting a finger, has been declared the winner of this particular confrontation because Idubbbz's behavior has been so utterly disgusting, and as if doing what he did wasn't bad enough, he decided that he was going to team up with people who have been coming for Ethan and Hila for months now. Probably over a year, I think, at this point. And the whole episode has been so grimy and so vile that Idubbbz is the loser. He's the big loser. He's gotten a lot of views on this Content Cop, but it's a cautionary tale about making friends online, about trusting other creators, and about what a person should grow to expect from a friend, quote unquote, on the platform who is also a creator. At what point does that person's desire to make money and to not lose an audience conflict with their obligations as a friend? It's funny, isn't it? And it's so obvious that Idubbbz is being used like a ventriloquist dummy by Hassan and his orbiters. And I think that what Idubbbz is doing is he's trying to snatch Hassan's audience. I don't know if it's worked yet, but I do notice that Hassan has not been promoting Creator Clash. Okay, there seems to be very little quid pro quo going on. I mean, Idubbbz staked his reputation, such as it is, on this Content Cop. It has backfired spectacularly on him, which I'm very happy to report. But I don't see any payoff for Idubbbz and his wife. I'm not seeing it. And anybody who goes to Hassan expecting that they're going to get anything out of it is crazy. Hi, Julie. Good to see you. All right, well, enough of that. Let's go ahead and look at this video. I don't think that leg pain will prevent me from getting through the entire thing. And if I feel that I have to speed it up, I will. But let's go ahead and bring it up. This is Idubbbz's return to Content Cop. So, let's watch.
Surprisingly dangerous. Consider in our defense, like, actually, Hila's not a baby killer. Actually, accusing Ethan of killing his dog is maybe too far, because they have mobilized such an insane harassment group that anybody who says any fucking thing, they will attempt to ruin their lives. And once again, I'm the crazy one. It's not bad enough that I have this group of people.
What we do here is go back.
And I'd be lying if I didn't say, or I'd be omitting a critical thing. I got a little bit of a frisson when I heard this music, because it's been years since I've heard this music. And I was hoping that we were going to get something interesting, but boy, was I disappointed. So the music was the best part of this whole thing.
What's up, everybody? I'm Hassan Piker, and this is the Hassan broadcast coming to you live from a cloudy day here in California, Los Angeles. We're live and alive, and I hope all the boys, girls, and MBs are having a fantastic one, because today's a beautiful day. I have a very important announcement. I've finally done it. I watched Ethan Klein's Content Nuke, and I'm not going to call it Context Puke as I normally do, because the reality of the matter is it was brilliant. Nothing was out of context. Everything was correct. I am an Islamist, fundamentalist, radical terrorist. I am
We
a
know that.
vicious anti-Semite.
We
It's
know that.
true. Most
Yep.
importantly, Ethan is more attractive than me, both physically and also mentally. I've been lying about everything, including my glasses. They're fake. He was right about that. That's not even in the content nuke. And he was right about that too. How did he know everything? How? Wake up, Ethan. Wake up, Ethan. Ethan, wake up.
Wakey, wakey, Ethan. Wake up, Ethan. Wake up. Time to be awake, Ethan.
Wake up, Ethan.
This is no longer a dream. This is a nightmare. Wake up.
Ethan, the dumb bitch is telling you to wake up.
Wake up.
Ethan, wake up.
Wake up, Ethan.
Ethan, wake up.
Wake up.
Tunes anyone?
Just wake up.
Wake up.
Wake up.
Wake up.
Wake up, Ethan.
I'm not gonna do a react content yet, chat.
I'm listening. The nobody's told you to wake up, Ethan.
Yummy, I love Sabra hummus.
Time to wake up, Ethan. Wake up.
Ethan.
Wake up, Ethan.
Wake
That
up.
was not nice.
Wake up, Ethan. Just wake up.
Now, just in case you're wondering, the people that were doing that stupid little dance routine, okay? Hassan, of course, did not join in, but the women are Hassan orbiters. We've got Frogan, who Twitch has desperately been trying to turn into a thing. She gets very, very few people in her chat. Even though Twitch has tried hard, they keep giving her awards for doing absolutely nothing. The other one is Denims, who is probably as stupid as Frogan. And the black dude is a guy called Sean DeBlack, and nobody knows why he's in this content cop, because he's not part of this story. We don't know why Idubbbz invited him. He has not been part of the anti-Klein dog pile. He's just some guy, you know. So anyway, that's who the cast of characters is. And I mean, it's going to get worse. Okay, let's go.
All right. I didn't plan on making a content cop on H3. It sounds very stupid even saying that. H3 content cop, Idubbbz. Ethan Klein's out of control. And then you should do a content cop on Hassan Piker. Content cop on Sargon of Akkad. If I would imagine this in 2016, I would have been like, oh yeah, if I ever do that, it's gotta be because I lose the plot. Well, it turns out it's not me losing the plot, it's Ethan. He's the one who fucking attacked first.
My good fucking friends who I stood by after all these fucking years can't find a spine to speak up.
So go fuck yourself.
I agree.
All right, guys, I'm going to tell you a story about Ethan Klein. I know some of you have been following him, but there's a lot of people who might not be familiar with the background, with his podcast, with what's been going on over the past couple of years.
And speaking of dishonesty, the reason that Idubbbz, his wife fell out with the Kleins was because CPS was called on the Kleins because a rumor started spreading that the Kleins lived in a house that was unsanitary, that the kids were crawling around on the floor eating dog feces, and that the kids, at least one of them, had gotten sick with giardia. All of this was false. This was a narrative that was pushed on Reddit and also by Denims, and then it was picked up and it was run with by so many people. And Ethan was hoping that his old friend of 8 years and his wife, who have been to the Klein's home, would step forward and say, actually, no, their house is very neat. The kids are well taken care of. There's no abuse and neglect in the house. And he didn't. He purposely stayed out of it. And there's been some division in the commentary community as to whether or not Idubbbz should have said something or should have kept his mouth shut. But the point is that the Kleins had a very good reason for being angry. The Kleins had a very, very good reason for being upset and feeling personally betrayed. You know, when you are being attacked by a dog pile, especially when the charges are false, you are kind of hoping that people who know you in person will step up and say, no, these charges are false. But of course, Idubbbz, being the person that he is, decided that he was going to throw in with Hassan and that whole little group of orbiters. And he was going to leave Ethan and Hila twisting in the wind. And by the way, the same day that CPS came to visit, they got a delivery of human skulls at their home, which pretty much every single person in the commentary community and everybody who's sane agrees is terrifying and completely out of pocket. And only, you know, Hassan, his orbiters, and Idubbbz, they think that, oh, it's not a big problem. Over on Reddit and other forums, they're saying, oh, Ethan sent those skulls to himself. It's been absolutely crazy. But let's continue.
So Ethan, as you know, is a content creator who has a podcast where he says all sorts of outrageous stuff. Sometimes it's fun, sometimes it's fucked up. He's had shows with all sorts of different controversial characters. He's had a show with Trisha Paytas. He's had a show with Hassan Piker. In doing so, he's gathered a ton of different audiences. Now, in his podcast with Hassan, Leftovers, they would mostly talk about surface level progressive shit and make fun of right-wingers.
And you're telling me he didn't flick their dick once at least?
Oh, that's 100 shavers, you trans women. I say, oh no!
And it was mostly that until they actually had to reckon with a very serious topic. I would say that Hassan was very well equipped to talk about that topic.
Palestinian people living in the West Bank are subject to these horrific conditions, horrific living conditions by the state of Israel, America's greatest ally and the only democracy in the Middle East.
Imagine saying that Hamas Piker is well equipped to discuss this issue when he himself has admitted on his own stream that he is a propagandist. When he has platformed actual terrorists on his channel, when he has played terrorist propaganda on his channel and said, oh, you know, these people are very musical. These are music videos that they produce. Hamas Piker is one of the most untrustworthy sources on the Middle East conflict on the entire internet. But sure, Idubbbz, you know, smooch up that butt.
If you ask Republicans and even liberals.
Well, the dance he invented was so kick-ass.
Israeli settlers are trying to evict Palestinian families in occupied East Jerusalem. The United Nations says that may be a war crime. It literally is.
I was just eating the toppings. And the pizza looked like a burn victim. It was all disgusting.
I don't know if you can make that joke in 2021.
Why?
It's insensitive to burn victims.
I think that's a good analogy. It's a powerful image.
Ethan was not prepared for this. Ethan, the whole time, is more of the goof guy. And that's fine, you know? We don't expect Ethan to be an expert on the topic.
Right, why would he be an expert on the topic just because he married an Israeli woman, just because Ethan has dual citizenship, just because Ethan lived in the country for 5 years, and he's got family, he and Hila have family there. But really, what the fuck does that mean, right? What does he know, anyway?
Ethan was obviously caught in this tricky situation where he is extremely sympathetic to the Israeli cause and what's happening to them. His wife's Israeli. She served in the IDF. He obviously likes the state of Israel. On the other hand, he's just got done capturing a massive progressive audience who are very politically savvy.
Progressive audiences are far from politically savvy. Have you seen the age range of Hassan's audience? It ranges between 10 to 18 years old. You think that those people are politically savvy? You must be joking. The people, the progressive circle on the internet basically attracts very young viewers who get all of their information off of Wikipedia and TikTok. You must be kidding. But anyway, let's continue.
Follow Hassan. Hassan is strictly a political streamer, so this is something they're very keyed into. So when they see Ethan say things that are just like not accurate and it's just propaganda, they're gonna call it out.
Yeah, they're gonna call it out. You mean like when Hassan openly supports Putin when Hassan is openly defending North Korea. I mean, come on now. Yeah, people call it out. But, okay.
From the river to the sea essentially means the state of Israel is going bye-bye.
So this massive progressive audience that Ethan has, adopted over the years, they're becoming increasingly critical of his position because
of course
now
they are.
He's talking about it not on Leftovers, he's now talking about it on his podcast.
What I want to do is show you guys how I see Israel, because you don't see that when you listen to Hassan and you hear all these fucking mega lefties talking about it like it's some super racist, crazy, like Jim Crow style of society. Like, I can't wait to show you guys.
The other day, Bibi fired a really good guy that a lot of people are pissed about.
So Ethan is having this back and forth with his liberal audience, leftist people online, progressive content creators, Hassan, all of these different people.
Mind you, the reason that Ethan fell out with Hassan, and the reason that Ethan and Hila lost a lot of people from their community was because Ethan's radical, insane, swivel-eyed take was that he does not believe that Israel should cease to exist. He believes Israel has the right to exist. Ethan has been extremely critical of Israel, very, very critical of the Israeli government. But just as Jordan Peterson predicted, your audience, the audience that you have cultivated, is going to keep on moving the goalposts, and one day you are going to get on the wrong side of these people, and there will be nothing you can do to get that audience back, because you will commit an unpardonable sin. I am paraphrasing. I don't have the tweet in front of me, but Jordan Peterson was absolutely right. That is the problem when you cultivate an audience like the audiences that watch Idubbbz, Hassan, Frogan, people like that. All it takes is one misstep, one disagreement, no matter how minor, and you're out. You are exiled. And now you are an unperson who is fit for attack and dogpiling and CPS calls and skull deliveries and smearing and doxing and, doxing the staff, doxing his Teddy Fresh employees. It's been a nightmare. It's been really, really bad. And all it took was that one, what I consider to be a very minor disagreement, but it was an unpardonable sin.
Finding new people every day, basically, to get in fights with.
Of all people, this guy, Matt Lieb, Frogan and Denims and all these dipshits, and everybody thinks this guy's awesome, apparently. Even though he looks like Millhouse, fucking dork.
Denims, by the way, was the real villain of the video. Evil, hateful fucking... And I'll say it and I'll double down on it. And people... Oh, no? Not go there?
And it's all culminated, at least for my story, in Ethan burning bridges with people until he burned the bridge with me. Since Ethan and Hassan's falling out, I've been keeping to myself mostly. I don't have many nice things to say. Maybe if Ethan's able to get some help, maybe if he stops harassing other creators, maybe if he does these things, eventually he'll find...
He hasn't harassed any other creators. He hasn't harassed creators. He's criticized them. He's gone on his channel and he's pointed out problems on other channels. And he has defended himself, he has defended Hila, and he's defended his family. That's not harassment. It's not harassment. Having CPS sent to your house is harassment. Having people spread lies about you to the point that the authorities get involved and show up at your house, that is harassment. And Denims, by the way, who this guy is white knighting for, Denims was the one who went on her channel and insisted that, okay, so CPS went to talk to their kids. The kids who were very young, I think that they're 5, 3, and an infant. And her contention was, well, it doesn't really matter because they're so young that they're not forming memories and they're not going to remember any of it, which is a really chilling thing to say about children when you sit down and you think of the ramifications. I mean, it's basically like a green light for every Chester the molester out there. Oh, great. You mean 3-year-old and 5-year-old kids don't form memories? You mean that the memories are erased by the time they're 15? Excellent. And Denhams is not a parent, of course. Of course she isn't. None of these people are. Ian, Hassan, Frogan, none of them.
Peace, and we can like rekindle our friendship. So that's been my approach. I've occasionally thrown a joke Ethan's way in the form of Hassan Piker versus Ethan Klein for boxing.
I like Idubbbz. He's a good guy, but I don't like this stupid. It's not a fucking petty beef. It's like, this guy is evil and he's doing anti-Semitism. And also he's way out of my weight class.
He didn't like that, but fucking sometimes you gotta just throw something out there. I used to work with this video editor named Froggy Tonic. I discovered him because he was in the circles online that I was in. And one of those circles is an H3 fan. He watched Ethan's content, he liked Ethan's content, until he didn't like Ethan's content. There would be an occasional Froggy tweet where I'd be like, I agree with that, you know? Like, I'm not gonna endorse it, I'm not gonna retweet it or like it, but fair enough.
I guess I just missed my old friend. Some wings are too bird feathered colored.
Now that brings us to February 28th of this year. Now, my former editor of a year and a half ago did say some truly mean shit. He called Hila the C word. He said they're trying to kill their dog with cheddar cheese and a bunch of other shit, I'm sure. Ethan, at some point, discovers that Idubbbz's former editor says this horrendous shit about him and Hila. But no one's asking the question, where does Ethan get this information from? You see, it would be very obviously a problem.
No, that's not the question people were asking. The question people were asking was why you, Idubbbz, could not come forward and dispel these rumors. You know, I mean, obviously Idubbbz is not responsible for what his former editor tweeted out. But they were shitty things to say. And I mean, Ian, you couldn't have had a quiet word behind the scenes with this guy and said, look, I get it. You're, you know, a fallen fan. You don't like the guy anymore. But could you just dial it down a little bit? No, that was the question people were asking, you know. Anyway.
If Ethan was discovering this content by scrolling through Twitter looking for something to upset himself with, he has maybe set it up in such a way where his employees feel the need to send him this information. And that would be horrible. They shouldn't be doing that. They should be sending you things that are entertaining for your show that don't fucking trigger the hell out of you. Why is there so much work being put into discovering this guy on Twitter who's barely getting any interactions, linking him to me and posting on the Reddit, when there's no work being put into who the fuck is the person on the Reddit who's posting this in the first place?
Nobody cares.
If you do a little bit of research, it seems like it's an account whose intention is to make Ethan crash out.
Okay, well, that's the intention of the entire subreddit. The Snark subreddit. That is the intention of the whole thing. So why are we talking about one person who posts on a poisonous, nasty subreddit? That's not the problem. Nobody cares about this. Nobody.
One of the users on the Snark Reddit points this out. They're like, I've seen this account before. This account has scraped its history, and it's now trying to make Ethan burn bridges. This is within Ethan's own community. Like, this is the thing that he needs to be critical of. It's not me. So yes, I am willing to admit that my former editor was being very nasty, uncharitable, and fucked up towards Ethan and Hila on Twitter.
Okay.
But Ethan and Hila are doing the same shit on their podcast.
Are they?
So I don't want to fucking hear it.
Terrorist supporter.
The CEO of Twitch.
Pedophile.
Now I'm going to watch and...
I just love when out of context clips are butted together and they prove nothing. We have no context for those clips. Nothing. We don't know what was said before, what was said after. We have no idea. But okay, go off.
Respond to the two podcast streams where Ethan and Hila call us spineless cowards.
You are.
Anyway, this guy was saying shit like that Hila's a Nazi, that she kills kids, that she went on like, she's a IDF baby killer, all this types of shit. And that's showing up right up on us Nisa's and Idubbbz's feed.
My good fucking friends who I stood by after all these fucking years can't find a spine to speak up. You know why? Because they'll get murdered.
Right.
You don't know what's on my feed. What the fuck is happening? For all you know, I only use the For You tab. For all you know, I only use lists. For all you know, I'm seeing these things tweeted out by my editor of a year and a half ago and saying, God, that is nasty. I'm just not gonna throw someone away because they're having a parasocial weird moment. Just like I'm not gonna throw Ethan Klein away because he's having a parasocial weird crash out.
No, it's not parasocial. This is not parasocial. You guys were friends for 8 fucking years. 8 years. They invited you into their home. That is not a parasocial relationship. Absolutely not. Let's continue.
How many women I fucked? Hassan, by the way, thousands. Yeah, thousands. Let me ask Galia. These shoes do not go. I'm sorry. Oh my God. Hassan's the type of dude who watches himself in the mirror when he has sex.
Watching me on a 30-second delay on your stream.
Wait, how does he know I'm watching already?
Because you've been talking about it for the last 5 minutes.
It's not a fucking petty beef. It's like, this guy is evil and he's doing anti-Semitism. These shoes do not go. I'm sorry.
There are many people, I'm sure, who have unfollowed you for the things that you've said and done. And I'm sure there are even more people who have stayed following you because they don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. They don't want to throw someone away because they've had some hard moments. We're all fucking human.
My good fucking friends who I stood by after all these fucking years can't find a spine to speak up. You know why? Because they'll get murdered.
And what you're saying to me is that I'm a bad friend and I'm a piece of shit.
You are.
Spineless. I'm cowardly.
You are.
Because I am following someone on Twitter.
Because they have...
No, because you're a piece of shit. Because this is what happens. This is what happens when you allow your audience to guide you and tell you what to do upon threat of cancellation, unsubbing, canceling memberships, all of that. This is what happens. That you don't want to stick your neck out for people who have done something for you. And it's not even about, again, it's not a quid pro quo thing, but when the Kleins stuck up for Idubbbz and Anissa, it was a very, very unpopular position to take. Idubbbz and his wife were being dragged from pillar to post. And Ethan and Hila promoted Creator Clash. There are a couple of people from Ethan's staff who are supposed to be fighting in Creator Clash this year. It was a friendship, you know. And this is what they get in return. Not only do they not get their so-called friends coming out and vouching for them as parents, but now you get this shitty content cop that isn't a content cop. It's just a hatchet job. And to the best of my knowledge, this is the first time that Idubbbz has done a so-called content cop on someone he actually knows in real life, which makes it all the worst.
Mobilized such an insane harassment group. It's not bad enough that I have this group of people harassing me and everyone in my life. It's that people outside of this group, journalists, creators, are actively participating in this gaslighting to make it seem like I'm fucking crazy.
Right.
I mean, I don't know what he's getting at here. Like, yeah, people are gaslighting you. A lot of people gaslit me when I apologized. That was actually like the #1 type of harassment I got, was people gaslighting me and taking my newfound woke ideology to its extreme.
I've probably done and stood by Idubbbz and Anissa more than anybody. I've stood by them when all the internet hated them.
Right.
I don't like that Ethan brought this up because it makes the relationship feel very transactional. Like, you know, we're just meant to support each other online despite our own personal morals or principles.
What morals and principles? What morals and principles? I mean, if what the Kleins had been accused of by that subreddit and by the others, you know, Denims or Frogan or whomever, particularly Denims, and Ethan had expected Ian to go online and lie on their behalf. if they really did have a filthy house, or if they really did mistreat their children, and the Kleins expected Ian and Anissa to go on stream and lie for them, that would have been different. All that they wanted was for you to show some support and tell the fucking truth. That's it. That's it. But that was too much, apparently. It was beyond the pale. I mean, this whole thing is so gross, so disgusting. Anyway, let's continue.
But I'll say this, I don't think they're fucking any friends of mine. And certainly I don't think they're any fucking friends of mine based on the text conversation I had with them too before I even talked about it. So I have nothing. I don't need any fucking halfway friends, man.
I thought the text conversation that I had with him was very empathetic. I basically just said, like, I know you and Hila are experiencing a ton of harassment, and I essentially empathize with that, and I think there's something positive to get out of the conversation. But he refused to talk on the phone unless I was willing to.
There's something positive to get out of the conversation. There's something positive to get when people are lying about you. There's something positive to get when people are spamming chats with call CPS, call CPS. There's something to be gleaned from this. There's something to learn from it. Absolutely not. No, absolutely not. What a terrible statement.
To publicly say something about my former editor and denims. As much as you don't want halfway friends, I also don't
Denise.
want that kind of halfway friend. I don't want someone who's going to give me like an ultimatum to have a conversation.
Could you not say something when this is like, imagine like one of you guys is like, Hassan actually wants to go to Israel, go to Gaza so he can strangle Israeli babies or some shit like that. I'd be like, you imagine me not saying something.
You're trying to make a one-to-one comparison where there isn't one. This guy that I follow on Twitter is not in the same relationship as you and one of your current employees.
No, it's not about Froggy Tonic. It's not about your former editor. It's about you and your wife. That's who it's about. That is who he is referring to. It's amazing to me. And I know that he's not stupid, and I know that he's not being willfully obtuse. He's just trying very, very hard to avoid responsibility while not alienating his audience or Hassan's audience. That's what he's trying to do. It's all very, very transparent, exactly what's going on here.
Who is streaming with you 3 days a week, 3 hours a day for the past 10 years. At one point during the stream, Ethan and Hila bring up Adam McIntyre. Now, Adam does basically the same thing as my former editor. He's critical of Ethan and Hila, and he is sometimes uncharitable and nasty towards them.
Adam McIntyre needs to just like disappear. That guy is a piece of shit, like of the lowest order. I never even stood by him when he talked bad about Trisha having a kid and called him like the spawn of Satan. He was supposedly on our side. I would never even co-sign that. I was disgusted by that statement too. I remember when he called her kid the spawn of Satan.
I never said anything
and
like
I was
that.
supposed to be like cheering on, but I wasn't going to cheer that on. That's disgusting.
Why do we forget that he called her children, which is something we would never do, the spawn of Satan?
It's disgusting.
And
a
I
piece
mean,
of shit of a human.
it's just incredible who ends up being the good guys in this story. You know, it's really something.
Unfortunately,
And you know what makes me absolutely see red about this portion of the video? Okay, those clips are from the stream that Ethan and Hila did the day that CPS showed up at their house. So they were understandably upset. And do you know that not a single time in this video does Ian mention the CPS visit? He doesn't bring it up at all. So he's butting all these clips together to make it look like these two are just insane, out of their minds for absolutely no reason, or because they just can't take criticism online. That is not what happened. That is not what happened. And that's the other thing that people are criticizing him for, that he left out a huge part of the story. The whole thing is nauseating.
They never made a statement. They never said that they disagree with his statements about Trisha's baby until it's useful. Like, what is it, 3 years later? Like, I mean, you're talking about it like you were aware of it at the time and that there was some amount of pressure or enthusiasm for you to get down with that. And what it sounds like to me is that you did see it at the time and you were like, ooh, I don't like that. And you didn't endorse it and you didn't fuck with it. Huh. It's almost like that is a fucking identical situation to me.
It's just incredible who ends up being the good guys in this story. You know, it's really something.
So yeah, the reason I'm bringing this up is because they're trying to like paint themselves as the good guys, and they're saying like, yeah, we strongly disavow things that are said, even about our enemies. We are the most immoral people on the internet, unlike Ian and Anissa, who are fucking keeping to themselves. Also, why the fuck does Olivia get the pass?
What a fucking asshole for putting you in that position, Olivia. You're friends with him. And you don't have to say anything, but like, what a fucking piece of shit. What a bad friend to put you in that position just for some fucking clout. It gets people angry at you, like, oh, how can she be friends with him? Which is total bullshit, okay? Olivia did not do anything. And
I want the pass. Do I have to be an employee to get that treatment? Because then you'll just see me as an ally? Or is it because Ethan is afraid of wrongful termination accusations and lawsuits?
And also
wrongful termination accusations. Whoever said that he was going to fire his employee? He's been very supportive of his employees. Very supportive and very compassionate. Where does this wrongful termination thing come from? That was never even suggested, that he would fire his employees for associating with people who criticize them. That is not true. And that is the tip of the iceberg of what Adam McIntyre has said and done. So, again, and Adam McIntyre is a drama goblin, but let's continue.
Also, I don't mind putting my friend Olivia, who's apparently my real friend, in a terribly weird, fucking uncomfortable situation where you end up getting hate for no reason.
Also, don't frame it as like other people making it hard on Olivia. You're making it hard on all of these people. Please acknowledge your role in this whole fucking thing.
Yeah, in other words, why don't you get back in line? Why don't you issue a groveling apology for a very, very minor difference of opinion? And maybe you will be accepted back into the fold, but it's your fault that all these people are dogpiling you. It is your fault that these people are going IRL on you, and it is your fault that your employees are being doxxed or dragged or whatever. It's your fault, Ethan. It's your fault. The gaslighting here, I mean, this is really like Orwellian, terrifying Orwellian language that's being used. But yeah, that's what these people always do. They always do that. Oh, well, if you hadn't done or said X, then you wouldn't be subjected to this abuse. No. How about you control yourself, put the fucking phone down, and cut it out, and keep everything online. Stop going IRL. Stop threatening people. Stop terrorizing people. But these people, these audiences don't know when to stop.
Like, it's crazy how warm Ethan is to Olivia and saying how Olivia is essentially just a victim in this whole thing.
She
It
is.
gets people angry at you, like, oh, how can she be friends with him? Which is total bullshit.
But me and Anissa are spineless.
You are.
Ethan, your whole system is scrambled. My intention isn't to throw the employees under the bus. Like, you guys
You
serve
just did,
as
though.
the fucking foundation for calling out Ethan's hypocrisy on the whole subject. And I know that you guys have probably pushed back against Ethan over the years. How often are you supposed to do that? Do you have to do that every fucking week? It kind of seems like it. And that's exhausting. I don't want to confront my boss. It's not my fucking job to confront my boss and say, today's segment on rapists and pedophiles on Twitch was not my favorite segment to be a part of.
Yeah, friends like these.
Oh, yeah. And our other good friends.
Yeah.
Anissa and Ian. Thanks, Anissa, for standing up for your girl. I actually stood up for you so many times because, like, why would I not? It was crazy.
Yeah, why would you not? I mean, if that's true.
Again, a reminder, every time that you see a clip where Ethan is wearing that Hawaiian shirt, it is taken from a stream that they did right after CPS came to their home, which, of course, Ian is not mentioning. He's not showing the title of the stream. He's not explaining why they were so angry. He's just doing this to make it look like they're crazy and they're angry for absolutely no reason. It is so unbelievably dishonest.
Truly what you believed, and you weren't just going to use it later.
Of course I was going to stand by you. That's insane. It's absolutely insane and disgusting. But now you choose to hang out with people that would have a problem with you if you defended me.
I'm not going to assume that Hila knows, but I'll say it for anyone who doesn't know. Anissa is half Lebanese and half Irish. For anyone unfamiliar...
That's not true, by the way. Anissa, by her own admission, is 8% Lebanese. 8%. But now she's decided to jump on that bandwagon so she can play the race card. She's not half Lebanese. Again, by her own admission. 8% Lebanese. But okay, let's go with this 50-50 split, shall we? Because let's listen to this bit of hilarity.
The Irish have been on the receiving end of a lot of oppression and genocide. On the part of the Lebanese, they've received a lot of oppression and attacks from the IDF. So,
and, you know, Lebanon used to be a majority Christian country. And look at what Hezbollah has done to that country. Beirut used to be called the Paris of the Middle East. Not anymore. Not for decades. So, again, you know, leaving out some basic facts about the history of Lebanon, but why the hell would she know about Lebanon? Because she's 8% Lebanese. Let's continue.
So, Anissa is very well familiar with the propaganda and the shit coming out of Israel. Choosing now, out of all the times, to be like, please defend me. No, we're not going to fucking defend you.
Rudy was saying that Palestinians...
Oh, I see. So because there's a conflict happening thousands of miles away, then it is too much to expect you and your wife to come forward and say, actually, I've been to their home. The home is clean and the children are not neglected or abused. And no, the children are not eating dog feces off the floor. Okay, so yeah, because of that disagreement about a foreign conflict, then we can renounce our responsibility to be friends to you. That's awesome. That really is. That's cool.
Are taught at 2 years old to kill Americans.
Do we have that one?
Man, like just the other day, BB fired a really good guy that a lot of people are pissed about.
He looked mean. I thought he was mean just because he looked mean.
No, it's not.
So yes, you caught us. We're not going to run to your defense when, I don't know, we follow people. We be following. That's one fucked up thing that you can say about Anissa and I is when we're on Twitter, we do be following.
So,
the problem...
Okay, if you want to hang out with those people and have no spine and not stand up for another girl that stood up for you, enjoy your new friends.
She's friends with people like Denims.
I know, yeah.
Which I'll show.
Friends with
Denims is actually participating in this whole child protective service lie.
Yeah,
Which I'll
and if
show you
you're
guys
friends with them, then you're seeing what they're saying.
You'll notice that Ethan and Hila start talking about this Denims character. Originally, the complaint was about my former editor. He's been chatting shit about Ethan and Hila for the past year at least. They only care about it now because I guess it was spoon-fed to them via their Reddit that's clearly looking out for them. Now, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. We are friends with Denims, but I would say it's the same level of friendship that we had with Ethan and Hila.
Okay. So when can we expect you to stab her in the back? Is that going to be coming soon or what? Denims, who was one of the prime movers of this fake kids are neglected and eating dog feces off the floor narrative. Denims, whose chat was being spammed with call CPS, call CPS, call CPS, and that's who you're friends with. Okay, got it.
Like kind of an internet friendship. We think that she's a good person like we think Ethan and Hila are good people. Kind of a tricky situation. How can you possibly think that they're both good people at their core?
That's a good question.
People can have crash out moments. People can say things that they don't mean. People can say things because they want internet clout and attention. I don't know. I think they're both probably guilty of saying things that they don't mean for internet clout and attention.
Oh, really? So, in other words, Denims was just trying to be edgy when she was encouraging or she was on there spreading that lie. And then amazingly, not long after that stream, CPS showed up at their home. But, you know, how can she be held responsible for that? She can't be blamed for it, obviously. She was just trying to be edgy and get attention and make money, right? Sure. And the thing that's also really insidious about the tone of this video is the suggestion that Ethan and Hila have basically gone nuts. You know, that they've lost their minds for absolutely no reason. They've gone crazy. And that maybe all that we need is a good old-fashioned Maoist struggle session to bring them back to the light. It's very, very, very insidious, very dark, and very frightening. But that's what these people do. They gaslight you. They push you to a certain point. And then when you react, they say, oh, see, that person has lost their mind. They've gone crazy. And they're lying. And then, you know, the gaslighting just never ends. And that's exactly what he's doing here.
Tension. Right now, one's a little bit more fucking nasty to me than the other.
I just don't see how you can be my friend and also be friends with someone like that.
I agree.
Well, you can't. So I already forgot about you.
I actually have a lot of friendships that are kind of that way, where it's like, you know, one of the friends doesn't fuck with the other friend, but there is someone in the middle who kind of fucks with both of them, but separately. Yeah, there's a lot of friendships that are like that. I'm not gonna make you guys like meet up and kiss or anything. I get it. You guys are in fucking... You're either my best friend who's deep-throating me to the base of my cock, or you are Satan. You're the devil.
No, sir. No, sir. I understand that he's trying to be hyperbolic, but I'm sorry. If somebody goes online and encourages CPS visits to the house or dog whistles that people should consider calling CPS, and I find out that one of my friends is friends with them, that's over. It's done. It's done. That is a line you do not fucking cross. It's not about total loyalty. It's about having a conscience.
The last thing I said to Anissa, we were texting before I ever talked about it. She's like, I don't care about this guy. He's a nobody. And, you know, blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, then you'll have no problem publicly denouncing it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, the conversation ended.
She never replied.
Ethan, you can't even phrase it in a way that doesn't make you sound like you're being coercive and shitty. Well, then, you should have no problem publicly denouncing it, right? Does that sound like a friend? It kind of sounds like something a powerful villain would say.
Oh my
But
God.
it was so funny how she immediately went to comment everywhere, like on our subreddit. She immediately had to comment like, oh, he doesn't work with us anymore.
Then
But that was it. That's all she said.
But then say that you don't
Okay, do you have
agree.
anything else to say for your friends, though?
One of the reasons Anissa was so quick to clarify things in your Reddit is because your Reddit was already talking about who this editor is, and they were spreading misinformation that it was our co-host on our podcast, Uncle Dane. So yeah, the last thing we wanted is this guy getting pulled into this mess, and you guys don't give a fuck. Would it have been nicer and more supportive to say, we don't agree with the things he's saying and we support Ethan and Hila? Sure. Like, yeah, that would have been a nicer thing to say. Our silence means something.
It sure
means
does.
that we would like to pause this relationship.
Our silence means something. Exactly. This is what the silence means. The silence could have several different meanings. One is we agree with what was done. The silence could also mean we are petrified of our audience. Hi, Gata. The silence could mean we are entirely controlled by our audience, or we're afraid of Hassan, or we're afraid of Hassan's audience, and we've been trying to unsuccessfully rebrand as this, you know, crunchy woke couple, but it's not working. And now that we're building up a little bit more of attention and we're trying to piggyback off of Hassan's popularity. We just don't want to get involved. We are willing to take 8 years of friendship, flush it down the toilet, and leave you twisting in the wind. That's what the silence means. And none of it reflects well on Idubbbz or his wife. I mean, Hassan, you know, he's just that kind of person. But Hassan had a different relationship with the Kleins than Idubbbz did. The whole thing is utterly revolting, disgusting.
Until you figure your shit out. And then maybe we can find a moment in time, I don't know how long it'll be, but a moment in time in the future where things are a little bit easier to broach. I don't think we need to do it right now. But you've insisted that this is an important thing to address. I would have been perfectly fine with you not blasting me on your Instagram story. I would have been perfectly fine with you not blasting me and my wife on your podcast tour.
On the stream after CPS came to visit, thanks to, in part, to your good friend Denims.
Twice. I would be fine with you not brigading my comment section on my podcast that gets 3,000 views a week because I prefer to not to do harassment campaigns and instead talk about Vampire's Kiss.
At least say something like he doesn't work for me, and I strongly disagree, and I support Ethan and Hila. The problem is
that she doesn't.
That's the problem.
That's the problem.
She actually.
She thinks they have a point.
That's the problem.
Yeah. So go fuck yourself.
I agree.
Go fuck yourself. What about your girl? This is what I'm talking about. This aggression that you're putting out into the world. What the fuck do you think we're gonna do? You think I'm gonna fucking sit on my hands when you do this shit? Like, this is nasty. We had such a fair response to what you guys were going through. We don't support harassment. It's a bad thing.
Okay.
But it happens, and you're perpetuating it.
You fucking puppet.
See, so they are responsible. They are responsible for the harassment. And if they only shut up and moved on, then the harassment would stop. Guess what? It doesn't work like that. It absolutely does not work like that. It just gets worse. But, okay, all right. Keep on washing your hands of the whole thing.
Propagandist, lying scumbag, terrorist supporter. He probably sets up a mirror and jerks off watching himself. Dan KKK Clancy has a similar view of Hitler. Because Dan Clancy, the Nazi, fucking anti-Semite.
You can't expect other people to stop harassing you if you continue to harass people.
Oh, I see. I see. You know, here's something interesting that I came across. So, if you're in Gora World, there is a channel called Narc Alert. Okay, I haven't watched her in years. But apparently, she got a Reddit thread taken down because somebody or some people wrote some hurtful things about her. She took exception to it. She complained to Reddit and they took the thread down. Meanwhile, Ethan has been trying to get the Snark Reddit thread taken down for months. And Reddit's response is, well, you know, if we take the Snark thread down, then we have to take your main account down too. What? Why? Everywhere that he has turned to try and get help, to try to ease this harassment and this dogpiling, he has been met with a stone wall. And everybody has noticed that Twitch's terms of service are definitely not applied equally. That Hassan has been able to get away with murder on his channel, as have other content creators who fall in line with Hassan's way of thinking. While they are very, very quick to zap people's channels that express points of view that they don't like, or that are smaller channels. And I get that Hassan is a powerhouse on Twitch, but at a certain point, people start to notice that it is ridiculous that Hassan gets away with what he gets away with on Twitch. It's crazy. But yeah, that's totally Ethan's fault. How dare he get mad at the head of Twitch for this bullshit, right?
Let's think about it on a micro level. Have you ever been in a comment section and found someone to argue with? It doesn't stop. It can literally go on forever if you don't want to touch grass.
I mean, yeah, this was kind of like a line, what happened today, that should never be crossed, even by like the most cynical, toxic people. It's going to have ramifications in terms of how I conduct myself, in terms of these fair weather friends who are, you know, so happy to be friends as long as they're getting something out of it.
Ethan, that is a rich thing to say. Like you're the H3 podcast, okay? There's a lot of friends of the show. There's even more fair weather friends of the show. Let's not get into this shit, okay? That is so bizarre and insulting to suggest that I was only ever being friends with you to get something out of it. No, I'm friendly with you, and I'd say I'm a light friend because it's been pleasant hanging out with you. I've enjoyed your content over the years, and as of late, it's gotten really fucking shitty.
Yeah, so go fuck yourself.
I agree.
Who else? Who else do we want to burn today?
Who else do we want to burn today? You're making it so fucking obvious that this is your emotional dumping ground. It's horrible. This is not what podcasts are.
Really? That's interesting. This is your emotional dumping ground. This is not what podcasts are for. I don't know if any of you have ever subjected yourselves to Idubbbz and his wife's podcast, but it is constant trauma dumping. Constant. It's just that nobody's watching. Their podcast is very unpopular. It's very dull. And they use it as a kind of way to self-actualize. And it's not a successful formula. Okay? A dumping ground, huh? Amazing. There's so little self-awareness here.
There was a way to approach this to say like, yeah, we feel hurt by you guys not saying something. You've decided to do the extra thing and attack. Now, in fairness, I am attacking back, but I feel very insulted and I feel defensive. I feel like I am speaking up for a lot of people who have problems with you and a lot of people who have been on the receiving end of your harassment.
It's so easy to be anti-racist. Everybody's anti-racist. Racism is the worst thing in the world, right? We fucking hate racists. Fuck racists.
Microaggressions.
The minute that they actually have to stick their neck out for somebody, the minute they have to actually risk something to put themselves in under scrutiny, to sacrifice something personally to stand up for racism, then all of a sudden it's like, hey, I don't want to get involved.
Exactly.
How much do you care?
I don't do drama.
How much do you actually care? Isn't that the whole point? Like,
I realize that Ethan and Hila are more scared now than they've probably ever been. I feel like anti-Semitism is a thought in their heads now more than ever.
You think?
And it's not completely unjustified to be thinking about that sometimes. You guys are just hurt, and you're kind of like dancing around and making very like loose, poorly thought out analogies for something that doesn't even apply to us. It's like me making this video is the standing up for something, and it's saying, fuck you, you guys are being bad. You know, I don't think you're bad people.
Thank you for giving us permission as Jews to think about anti-Semitism sometimes. Thank you for that. I am so grateful to you for your goy-splaining of anti-Semitism to the Jewish community. That is really, really prime content. Thank you for your compassion.
People, but you're being bad. You're behaving poorly. You're hurting people.
I mean, go back to the civil rights. You think that the people who are like the white kids who are protesting with the black students, you think that they were just like not risking anything? Those kids who are marching with the black students and...
So in Ethan's analogy, he's the black student and I'm the white student, but I'm the white student that's not, marching by his side. I'm not doing the difficult thing. You're going to have to march on your own, black student.
Marching with the black students and...
I mean, why is it inspiring? Why is it inspiring?
Well, and it's the same thing, to bring it back to the song just because, but it kind of is the same thing. Like, I was thinking about going to Gaza until I found out it's dangerous. He's a total performative activist that doesn't give a single fuck about the cause.
That's true.
It's been performed exquisitely, harassing one person and seamlessly transitioning into harassing another one. If anyone's been watching for the past fucking year...
That's not harassment. That is a statement of fact. Hassan is a performative activist. He is. All of them are. All of them are. All of these people on the college campuses, the people marching in the streets, they're performative activists. Absolutely, 100%. It's very, very easy to state these opinions, and it's very easy to march and everything else in a place where you know you won't get arrested, or if you are arrested, it's a catch and release thing, or you can pay the bond and you can get out and you'll be fine. I used to see a lot of performative activism back in the 80s when I was in college. specifically around divestiture from South Africa. I remember being on the George Washington campus and overhearing a couple of students say, oh, if we go protest at the South African embassy now and we get arrested, we'll be released in time to go to our like late afternoon classes. That is performative activism. And it's not a new thing, but we're seeing it everywhere. There is nothing wrong in pointing this out.
I'm pretty sure they have a good idea of your feelings about Hassan.
Like people like Anissa are the perfect example because she's friends with these people. She's friends with Denims. Denims is streaming this story about our
I'll
kid
show that, yeah.
getting Giarda from the dog, whatever.
I'm sorry, I'll accept this position from anyone except you guys. You have laid the groundwork for this type of streaming, which is watching people shit and giving your unfiltered reaction to it. Why would you expect Anissa, of all people, to say something to Denims? Okay, so by that logic, we should be saying shit to you guys all the time. But I have a feeling you guys wouldn't like if we said shit like that to you all the time. Yeah, we.
Yeah, but it's not Ethan and Hila who are sending CPS or the authorities to other people's houses. Not the last time I checked. So they state their opinions. Sometimes their opinions are very strong. So what? That is not harassment. It's not harassment. Stop it.
We've been respecting you as independent content creators. You can do what you want. We'll treat you as adults. Maybe we shouldn't have been treating you as adults.
She could say so much, and it would make her a little bit uncomfortable, right? It's not comfortable. She'll get a little bit of shit.
Yeah, just for
But
saying
that would be commendable.
And by the way, it kind of speaks for itself that saying, hey, their house is clean, they're actually good people, like that's going to get you shit. That kind of says it all, doesn't it?
There isn't a single person that I respect who would give a fuck if I publicly said that Ethan and Hila are great with their kids, Ethan and Hila didn't kill their dog, and Ethan and Hila wipe their asses or don't have giardia or whatever the prompt is. No one would care. The only person who would care is me, because I'm like, why did I tweet this out? I'm not tweeting out because I'm not your fucking lapdog. That's why I'm not tweeting it out.
No, it's because you're not a friend. In other words, I don't want to alienate my audience, and I don't want to make Hassan angry. And we don't want any blowback from Denims or any of these other losers that we've just teamed up with. That's what he's saying. It is the ultimate form of cowardice and disloyalty. It is absolutely vile and disgusting.
Now, I'm not saying it to my audience because I don't give a fuck. It's not my business.
That's, in my opinion, doing something that's
Yes, it
difficult
does.
and standing by your principles. That's the whole point. That's what makes standing by your principles admirable, is that it's not always easy.
Why are you saying that I'm not standing up for my principles when you don't even know what they are? I get, like, we're a little bit past directly naming me, so we might have gone off on a tangent. If you maybe accepted the phone call and we talked about it, you could have asked me, hey, what are your principles? And I can tell you the way I've been behaving is exactly in line with my principles.
Okay.
Now we're going to talk about the BDS list. We're going to start off with Frogan because obviously this is like as bad as it gets. If you're following Frogan, that can only mean that you're anti-Ethan. Oh, this is not a good start. Love of the H3 podcast. You are following Frogan, so that means that you are anti-Ethan. Sam, Morg Pie, friend of the show. Olivia, Ian, Daily Dose of Internet is anti-Ethan. Jesus, this is fucked up. Pokimane, comment etiquette. Oh shit, Asmongold's in here? Asmongold follows Frogan? No, Asmon. That means you're anti-Ethan. That's fucked up. We're going to want to avoid these creators at the top of the list, but one tier below them are the creators who associate with them. They're essentially endorsing all of their statements. You got me, you got Anissa.
And Frogan is a massive piece of shit who wished PTSD on Army veterans, and now she's trying to backtrack, and she's trying to rewrite history, as so many people do on this platform. Sorry, Frogan. People have been talking about this for months. You're not going to be able to do that so easily. And Frogan is the one I was telling you about, who Twitch has been desperately trying to promote. They keep on giving her these bullshit awards for accomplishing absolutely nothing. And she still can't build an audience. And she has the nerve to go on her channel and cry about people taking her income away. Bitch, what income? You never made it on the platform. You were never popular, even though you relentlessly kiss Hassan Piker's ass. But sure, let's continue.
Hassan's in there. You'd think that Hassan would be on the top of the BDS list, but that's not the case. Hassan provides additional value for people. Ethan can turn a blind eye to people collaborating with Hassan because that's what he did. You gotta be the lowest of the low to be associating with the Frogans and the Denims of the world. To associate with Hassan, that just makes sense because he's famous and he's got a massive fan base. Also, Ethan still follows Hassan on Instagram, so Hassan is in his feed.
And that's showing up right up on us Nisa's and Idubbbz feed.
It's important to remember that this is a living document and people can be removed or put onto it depending on how Ethan's feeling that day. You have this other tier of creators that exist below Hassan but are still anti-Ethan, but Ethan really doesn't want to bring your attention to these ones because it's kind of unpopular, you know? A lot of them are famous. It's no coincidence that Ethan stays silent when these powerful, popular men are supporting Hassan. It's because Ethan is a coward. He's a bitch-made coward. I think Ethan has an unreasonable amount of respect for these comedians because they have power, they're quick, and I think he knows that they don't fuck with his ideology.
They have power. Who the fuck are they? I mean, no offense. The only one that I recognize is the one on the bottom left. I don't know who these people are. Who the fuck are these guys? You know, these very, very powerful comedians. No idea. None whatsoever.
But he's going to keep that to himself because the last thing that he wants to discover is that people that he respects and looks up to, they don't fuck with him.
Bill Burr came on. It was like the worst fucking show. It was just horrible. That was like my lowest moment on podcast history. We could talk about Bill Burr, ruined my life. Bill Burr made Ethan go on Lexapro. I was prescribed it and it was in my bedside. And then it was the Bill Burr episode. That made me finally start.
When Stavros goes on Hassan's stream and he mocks your content nuke.
I actually saw a really interesting video about you, man, and I don't know that I'm even comfortable being here anymore.
Oh no.
It really kind of shed light on you in a way.
Yeah.
You kind of like have leftist politics and stuff like that. And I actually feel betrayed.
Yeah.
And so I'm actually just here to let you know this is the last time I'm ever coming.
You don't fire back because you're coping. So you're just going to tuck your tail between your legs and never mention on your podcast that mentions everything. You're bringing up some fucking connection I have on Twitter. Someone mocks you on a stream, you're not touching it. Fuck you, you're a coward. It's just his job. It's just what he does for his job. You know, he doesn't mean it. We're actually good friends. You know, he makes fun of everyone. It's not just me, right? Oh, also, I can't forget about Matt Lieb. Matt Lieb is in this like middle tier. His valuable association is Rhett and Link. So Rhett and Link, conveniently, are also in this category.
Matt Lieb is a piece of shit. He's married to that Francesca woman who just got fired from the Young Turks for calling her boss, Cenk Uygur, a bitch. And it's interesting that, again, this is another gaslighting technique that Hassan suggested, that Ethan needs to talk to Sam Seder because apparently Sam Seder is on the very, very short list of approved Jews who have the proper opinions. He's been thoroughly vetted by Hassan and his backers. And this notion that poor Ethan has lost his way and he needs help, and help needs to come in the form of Sam Seder, who is one of the biggest capos on the internet. But okay, it's also insidious. It really is.
Of popular and powerful men who Ethan does not want to burn bridges with. Although he's sniffing around.
This guy, Matt Lieb, he works for Good Mythical Morning. Of all people, this guy, Matt Lieb, who apparently is a producer for Good Mythical Morning. Well, this guy works for Good Mythical Morning, acting like he's wholesome, and he's bringing on somebody that wants to kill my wife, or in a video game. And I think he should be fired, frankly. And I hope he is fired. He's pathetic, and he interviewed basically a terrorist.
I think Ethan only respects power right now, which is one of the reasons I made this video in the first place, is because he thinks I'm weak. He thinks a lot of these other creators that he's gone out of his way to attack, he thinks that they're weak, and he thinks they're a target that he can bully, he can manipulate, he can send lawsuits to. And I want him to know that we're not going to be bullied. You're being a piece of shit, and we're going to call you out.
So here...
No, it's about responding to the defamatory accusations that have been made that have now leaked into his real life. The last time I checked, you were allowed to do that. Even if people find your opinions to be unpopular, you are permitted to do that. And it's not bullying to defend yourself online. That is preposterous.
Here's the button. You've got a video and you've got an audio. We're hitting both.
You know, one of the big problems with this video, by the way, is that if you are not intimately familiar with the lore of Ethan Klein, Hassan, Idubbbz, and the rest of the people that are featured in the video, you would probably have absolutely no idea what's going on. The video is not entertaining. It's not well edited. It is very, very misleading. And it's a hatchet job. And it's a confusing hatchet job. That is the big problem with this video.
Yes.
There's no point.
Let's leave.
Yeah, there's no need.
Yeah.
I don't. But shit, like, how pathetic are you?
Oh, for
Don't worry if
God's
we don't have
sake.
it all now.
It seemed less bad.
I've been diagnosed.
This weird fixation that people have with that fucking mute button is one of the dumbest critiques I have ever seen. It's a mute button. Broadcasters use mute buttons. So the fuck what? Who cares? And that particular segment was absolutely endless.
That's with goblin mode, actually.
By claiming that what happens is he just gets into this like uncontrolled state he refers to as goblin mode.
I do not call myself
I
goblin
know
mode.
name.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's what you did.
Goblin mode? Is that what you're calling Tourette's now?
To all victims of goblin mode, I would like to issue an apology.
Well, you got goblin mode today. You're goblin mode. Look how many times you paused the
I'm trying,
video.
bro.
And I don't think there's no room for using the term goblin mode. I like the idea that you're defending yourself and the little guy by going goblin mode when a big corporation or a big entity is trying to attack you.
Like, if you fuck me over, if you steal money from me, if you patronize me, if you do any of this shit like you're trying to do to me, treat me like a fucking idiot, I'm crazy, dude. I've gone fucking goblin mode over way less.
But you not thinking about what you're saying, not, reflecting on your behavior, not changing your behavior, that's not goblin mode. That's being a child. Let's talk about the crew. I think the crew has been put in the worst working environment that you possibly can be for a fucking podcast. Every crew member has it bad. To be around Ethan, period, would be a nightmare right now.
No, it's not because of the Kleins. My understanding is that they're very good employers and they treat the crew really, really well. And what is indicative of how well they're treated is that despite all the bullshit and the doxing and the dogpiling and everything else, I don't think any of them have quit, which is a good sign. Nobody has walked out. And to suggest that this is the fault of the Kleins is monstrous. It's monstrous. And it's really kind of refreshing to see how loyal the crew is to the Kleins. And it's, an indication that they are well treated by the Kleins as employers.
I'm standing by every fucking syllable of that, okay? What she did was abhorrent. And by the way,
Just don't. Listen, your critique of her is correct. It's just, people are sensitive about women being called that word. And so...
like, how pathetic are you? You know what I mean?
Well,
I'm not assuming his pronouns. And fuck all these people. Go ahead.
No,
and I'm
no.
not yelling at you. I'm just... Kelly is a black woman, right?
Yes.
Maziel is a...
Korean.
Oh, Dan, come on. You're being such a buzzkill. Yeah, I didn't know Korean. I asked if Koreans are POC. God.
Dan's in the bathroom. Let's just not do this right now.
I asked if Korean people are POCs.
The one time the button didn't work and we listened to how he spoke to AB without thinking that the internet was going to hear it, it was rude, it was nasty, and it didn't have this caveat of like, I'm not mad at you. It was anger, and it was uncalled for.
Use they get access to cover most of it.
We're doing it.
What are you
It's
doing?
so awkward and terrible.
I'm sorry, I'm not.
Just like, this is what I'm talking about when it's always like...
We need to get home for our kids.
It's like, bro.
Oh no, I didn't want to finish it right now. I'm not finishing Wednesday.
On Friday. Is it?
You guys, like...
All right, I'm taking my hand up.
Ay.
What? Okay, well,
Heard all that.
Thanks, button.
And he didn't want to take accountability for it. He immediately wanted to deflect and he wanted to say that the button fucked him.
First of all...
I'm sorry, but having worked in broadcasting for 30 years, I can tell you that is nothing. Like, I was trying to pick up on the harassment, the abuse, the bad treatment. Anybody who has had something thrown at them, anyone who has been screamed at in front of hundreds of people, anyone who has had somebody make you cry during a live broadcast, that is a whole different kettle of fish. This is nothing. I'm not seeing evidence that he mistreats his staff. That is preposterous. Let's continue.
Well, I appreciate the hard work.
I know you do.
And
I
I
know.
loved it, and I really enjoy it. But it's like every time we do it, it's like the show is what it is, and
I know.
it makes it.
I was being selfish.
No, dude, that button f***ed me, dude. Can you imagine that button f***ing me over like that?
The button fucked you? AB fucked you? Who fucked you? You fucked yourself by being an asshole. He makes it seem like he's not a tyrant of a boss.
We're doing it.
A tyrant.
Awkward and terrible. I appreciate the hard work.
I know you do.
And
I
I
know.
loved it, and I really enjoy it.
Dan, his producer, is constantly clarifying things on the air and making it clear that what Ethan said was a joke. Ethan is being overly defensive, or he's saying things that are like not true.
And you know what, Doris? That is exactly one of the comments that I've been reading, that you can tell by the way that he got all triggered about this, that this man has never had a job in an office setting or in a professional setting, that basically he's made a living on YouTube for so long that he has no idea of how the other half lives. None whatsoever. So thank you for posting that comment.
When he's exaggerating.
People saw that. They thought that was what you searched to
I did
pull
not
up that
type
photo. So I'm just clarifying.
Thank you for clarifying. I appreciate you doing that. God forbid.
What's okay because I buttoned it.
Why?
Because
it's not that big of a deal, man.
Just your
how
inability to.
No, hold on, Dan. How does it change anything? People knowing that we did it.
It's fun when it's a surprise.
Okay, well, tell
you just asked how it changed
surprise
things.
them on your show.
Okay, all right.
You know, I understand that that's his role, and he's, you know, Ethan's made that his job, or Dan's made it his job. Ethan leans on it so heavily, in the same way that he leans on the button. Ethan is leaning on all of these people to be adults and look after his behavior and give all of this emotional and empathetic energy for Ethan, but Ethan refuses to give it back to them. Also, let's talk about AB and Lena, two Lebanese employees, and you just continue to talk about the conflict like they don't exist. It would be nicer, a lot nicer, for you to shut the fuck up about it. You're allowed to do that.
Hezbollah in Syria alone killed double that much. All right, I'm gonna move on. I just want to play Hassan talking about Bad Empanada.
Ethan doesn't want to change, and he wants to bring the entire crew down with him, because he's putting them in this position every day, right? But it's more important that he gets this shit off his chest. It's more important that he dumps. We're all familiar with Goblin Mode. Well, Ethan debuted a new mode recently.
And by the way, my ratio is pretty good. Like, I'm looking at like 20 Goblin modes to 1 too far. Demon mode.
Recently, this was ages ago, he was still overweight. And Hila was blonde, but okay.
Oh, let's call it.
What makes Demon Mode different than Goblin Mode is goblins aren't really like an intimidating, powerful force. If the goblin is persistent, it can get what it wants.
When I'm done with the other one, the big one that's dropping probably next week, my full attention is going to you, George. Like the Eye of Sauron. I see you. I see you out there, you fucking cockroach.
Ethan, the reason the internet got behind you when you were being sued by Matt Haas or when you were being sued by Ryan Kavanaugh is because people saw you as the underdog. They saw you as the guy who's defending the common man.
I'm suing, and I cannot wait for you guys to read it. At the moment, we are writing 3 complaints for 3 people.
You are doing the classic rich asshole thing. You have a deficit of friends, you have a surplus of enemies. You feel really bad, you feel hurt, but you also have a surplus of money. So what can you do? You can use that money to bully and intimidate people. These public legal threats that you're making to fellow creators, these legal threats that you're making to people on Reddit, on Twitter, you're like, I'm hurt. These people are hurting me. What do I do to stop it? There's nothing I can do to stop it. I'm powerful.
It's not about being hurt. Again, it's about people going real life on you. It's about people reaching into your family. It's about people lying about you. It's not about hurt feelings. It's about trying to protect your family. I mean, again, I hate to bring this up because it's kind of like a cheap excuse or a cheap ploy. But Ian and Anissa don't have children. Hassan doesn't have kids. Frogan doesn't have kids. Denham's doesn't have kids. They don't understand how harmful this stuff is. They all think it's a big game. It's not a big deal. And the kids are so young, they're not going to remember it anyway, right? And, well, if CPS shows up at your door and you have nothing to hide, what is the problem? It is a complete disconnect that these people have with real life. They don't understand the impact of this shit. They don't get it. And by the way, Ethan is, I wouldn't say he's having a resurgence, but the sympathy for Ethan is a lot more than it is for any of these other losers. And this sympathy is coming from people who don't like him, by the way. I'm not a fan of Ethan. I don't watch the podcast. I think it's boring. I don't enjoy it. I don't think that Ethan is funny. But I can still sit here and say that this horseshit has got to come to an end one way or another. It's just wrong. And notice, as I said before, not once has this asshole mentioned that CPS visit. Not once. Let's continue.
Powerless. No, you have a ton of power, you have a ton of options, you have a ton of choice. That's exactly what you get for being filthy rich, is you can do all of these things.
I've never want to sue someone for defamation, but like at what point do you kind of fucking have to? I mean, this is like basically someone calling you a pedophile. Be like, yeah, no, Ethan's a pedophile.
Dan Clancy or whatever, like the CEO of Twitch, and be
Pedophile. Dan KKK Clancy has a similar view of Hitler. Because Dan Clancy, the Nazi, fucking anti-Semite. There are certain things you can accuse people of that rise above to make it like actionable, which is like wrongfully accusing someone of being a pedophile, a sex criminal, a murderer, shit like that. Dan Clancy now, in other words, he is a pedophile.
You have so much less to go off of saying that than anybody has about
based
Dream.
on his looks. Just on his based on his
Well,
looks.
at least you're self-aware.
That's 100% a joke. I have no evidence to conclude that he is.
One of the more notable legal threats that Ethan has sent out recently is against Noah Samson.
I have nothing but vibes to gain, and potentially your money as well. Don't worry if you don't have it all now. I'll garnish your wages. You're going to be living with your parents for a lot longer, buddy. 26, you know what I mean? Try 46.
Noah made a video that was critical of Ethan and other content creators when they're talking about Israel and Palestine. I mean, the way he's talking about Noah on his podcast is so fucking creepy and weird.
Is this a new thing?
This is a new thing. This happened during the show. Upon initial examination, it seems to check out, and it's not great for young Noah.
Can I say that? Don't say it yet.
I'll say it.
So he's a rape. So of course his standard, I don't know what he's accused of, so I'm not actually going to say, but
Ethan brought on a former partner of Noah to basically just shit talk him and say that he's a bad partner. But that's all that Ethan was able to extract out of it.
you are not accusing him of committing any crimes or doing R-word or anything like that. The accusation is that he's a sleaze.
Absolutely. Noah
Yeah.
Samson, as far as I know, is not a rapist.
Fuck you to Noah Samson, who's not just a liar and a scumbag, but also a creep, allegedly.
Allegedly.
Now let's talk about the left-leaning Democrat.
He presents himself as someone like me, a left-leaning Democrat who supports basic things.
The thing that made me start to question Ethan's intentions is that when he was suggested to talk to Sam Cedar, a fellow progressive,
Here
a
we
guy
go.
that Ethan respects and looks up to,
He works with Sam Cedar at the Majority Report. I respect him and what they do there.
he kept saying that it was racist or anti-Semitic to suggest that he talked to someone who's within the same ethnic group as him.
That's why I said yesterday, like, I urge Ethan to talk to Sam Cedar. There are very thoughtful, very kind, anti-Zionist Jews out there that he could talk to. I don't think that I will.
No, it's incredibly condescending. Incredibly condescending, and it just shows you that there is an approved list of the good ones, if you know what I'm saying. And that Ethan, who has had a very slight difference of opinion with this asshole that we see on screen, needs to be re-educated. It's always about re-education with these people, you know? And that Sam Cedar is the approved one. Sam Cedar is one of the good ones who can bring Ethan back into the light. It is incredibly, incredibly insulting and condescending. Incredibly. Underscore. Let's continue.
Will be able to reach him.
What's the insinuation that I only listen to other Jewish people? You need to talk to my pre-approved list of Jews that,
Exactly.
that like agree with me on everything. You know, it doesn't
Right.
matter if they're Jewish, dude. It doesn't matter if they're fucking Jewish.
I think most Jews.
I don't think Jews at large view it. I don't think that that is the.
In what position are you to even say that?
It's
You
not
speak for my
motivated by
entire
myself.
ethnic
It's
group.
motivated
That's
by
crazy to me.
Jews against anti-Zionist
No,
Jews.
seriously, how can you speak for my entire ethnic group? I find that really interesting.
Ethan, I don't know what to fucking tell you. This is like step one of having a leftist ideology, is recognizing our race, religion, nationality, all this shit, all shape our experiences as people.
That's the reason why it'd be better served to have this conversation not with myself, but with an anti-Zionist Jewish person.
Why does it matter if they're Jewish?
Exactly.
Because I'm not Jewish, and you've said in this conversation that, like, how can you tell me how to feel about this situation?
Yeah, but how is one person a representative of Jews at large? I'm just telling you how Jewish people around the world
interpret that phrase.
So yes, Ethan, on occasion you might be suggested to talk to someone who has some crossover with you. It doesn't have to be your ethnicity. It could possibly be someone who shares progressive ideology with you. It could possibly be someone who is of your same gender. I think Ethan understands this concept very well. He listened to these women on his show when they told him that he shouldn't be calling women bitches.
This bitch is intolerable. You are such a nasty fucking bitch, Cam.
I don't know if you can call her a bitch though.
She is a bitch. She's a fucking bitch. You're right. I call her a see you next Tuesday.
Listen, you have
I'm curious what do Lena and Sam think about it.
I wouldn't be okay with that.
Yeah.
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 I feel like that it's for the girlies, Ethan. But I
So
agree.
you guys all seem to be
Yeah.
in consensus that
We
it's in
are.
poor form. I think to respect the women here in the room, I'm going to have to pass on saying that.
The infantilization of Ethan Klein is
Thanks,
fucking
Jen.
nauseating. He's not a child. He is absolutely capable of looking into Hassan, learning about his politics, interviewing, doing loads of things to figure out where he stands.
He presents himself.
No, we know where Hassan stands. We know where Hassan stands because we've seen it exhibited over and over again. He is pro-Hezbollah. He is pro-Hamas. He platforms actual Houthi terrorists. He plays terrorist propaganda. He supports North Korea. He's a Putin supporter. I mean, it's not like this is secret, okay? This is not something that he has tried to hide. He's been very, very open about it. And he's incredibly dishonest. Yeah. It doesn't take much to figure all this out.
As someone like me, a left-leaning Democrat who supports basic things. And for the first time, I noticed an inordinate amount of radical, hardcore leftists. I mean, I thought we were social democrats, not whatever this was. This comment from Hassan really started to sound some alarms in my head. I was already getting uncomfortable with our partnership. I started to wonder if I had any idea who this guy actually is.
You made how many episodes with Hassan? Like, this guy made a fucking program with the biggest mega leftist on the platform. Now he's acting like he was tricked and he was incapable of figuring out what this guy's beliefs were. Bro,
Thank
I
you,
didn't make
Jen.
the fucking leftist program. You did. You made fucking, 60 some odd episodes of this shit?
Thank you, Jen. I appreciate it. And enjoy your memberships. 5 people who received them. Thank you so much, Jen. I appreciate you.
For hours talking to this guy, you didn't have a problem with any of it until, Ethan talks about being aware of Hassan's 9/11 comments and then sort of leaves it at that. Like it was just a joke. Actually, I think Ethan describes them as edgy moments or jokes.
You might remember him from such classics as
America deserved 9/11, dude. Fuck it. I'm saying it.
Now, to be clear, I knew about all these edgy and controversial jokes at the time we made the show together, because who am I to judge?
No, Ethan.
Yeah, you know, the thing that is so relatable, see you later, Jen, appreciate it. The thing that is so relatable about this is that I think pretty much anyone who has been on the platform for any length of time can point to an association or what they thought of as a friendship that has gone bad. And it's all played out very, very publicly. And then a bunch of people come forward and say, see, we told you so, we told you so. Yeah, it happens. And sometimes the only way that you can learn is by experiencing it on your own. And it's very unpleasant. And Jordan Peterson was right. I mean, Ethan cultivated this audience. You know, and there was a lot of crossover between his audience and Hassan's audience. And I think that gradually he has been realizing that he made a gigantic mistake. That he never, ever should have gotten involved. I mean, at the time, it seemed like an alliance that made sense. And then over time, he realized that he had formed an alliance with a real scumbag. So, you know, I mean, Hassan going on that podcast and saying, you know, justifying the Chinese takeover of Tibet, for example, was a bit much. Or talking about baby settlers, which meant that everyone in Israel proper is a legitimate target for terrorist attacks. And slowly but surely, Ethan opened his eyes and was like, you know, fuck this.
Those aren't jokes, right? When someone makes a controversial statement like that, that's not them trying to be funny. I can understand why you would conflate the two. That is someone who is extremely frustrated and passionate about a particular topic. In this case, American imperialism and terrorism. You could have looked into that. You could have talked to Hassan a little bit more and found out what his international politics opinions are.
We know what his opinions are about international politics. And I could give a fuck less about what your position is on international politics. Anyone who justifies 9/11 is a piece of shit. The end. I don't give a fuck about your buzzwords and about the excuses that you make about imperialism and colonialism. It's all horseshit. Cut it out. Stop it.
But you wouldn't even need to do that. You can look at it online. You're not a victim. You weren't tricked. You made 60 some odd episodes. If you didn't want to go to...
Well, thank you. Thank you, Anna. Thank you so much for the 5 memberships. And I hope that everybody enjoys their memberships. The other 5 of you who just got a membership, thank you so much, Anna. I appreciate you so much. Thank you. Yeah, that's a problem, Doris. It is a problem.
Go down this route, you shouldn't have done it. But that was your fucking choice. You did it. You are an adult. When Ethan and Hila are watching Matt Lieb saying that one state doesn't represent all Jews, they cannot wrap their heads around the idea.
No single person represents all Jews.
I'm just telling you how Jewish people around the world interpret that phrase.
No single person represents all Jews, as no single state represents all Jews.
This is another weird thing.
Oh my God.
Israel, this is a lie that I see Hassan and people pander. They say that Israel's going to war on behalf of Judaism. They have never, I don't believe that that's ever been stated.
Never.
And I don't think Israel ever explains that it's like, I think Israel says it's a place where Jews can go.
Right.
Israel is just a place Jews can go. With that slogan, we might actually have peace. You know, if that's all you're defining Israel as, is a place Jews can go. Like, sure, it sounds like America to me. Like,
does
all
it?
Right.
I don't think that Israel.
No, you know, maybe Idubbbz, you can do India, Pakistan next. Talk about Pakistan. Israel and Pakistan were founded at almost exactly the same time. I don't know if you've been keeping up, Ian, but India just expelled Pakistanis and shut the border down and cut off the water supply to Pakistan. I wonder why they did that. Maybe it has something to do with shooting Hindu tourists in Kashmir. I know that this is all very complicated, but what do you have to say about that? And this is not whataboutery. I'm genuinely curious. I wonder if Hassan has spoken out about it. Let's continue.
Said they represent all Jews. I don't think that's a stance. We're like, hey, displacing Palestinians is all Jewish people.
Ethan is being so disingenuous here to suggest that he doesn't understand what Matt Lieb is saying. Like, he's making a semantic argument. Like, I don't think Israel has said that it represents every last Jew on the planet. I don't think Israel has claimed that. They're not going to say that their most genocidal behavior represents anything to do with them, okay? But what they are going to do is they're going to inexplicably link Israel and Jewishness together, so when they're being criticized, all of a sudden, they have the perfect defense. Oh, another thing I need to mention. There was a tier list. It was called the Who Can Say Habibi tier list. It was presented at TwitchCon as like a panel that was just meant to be lighthearted and fun, and Ethan Klein saw that, and he decided that it was anti-Semitic.
Your list, and we're going to need your help to discuss and figure out who can say Habibi and who can't.
And also, we have tiers. We have Arab coded. They ask permission to say Habibi. You know, like you got like white guys like, can I say it? Is it slurs? And then Love Sabra, which is they're not Arab coded at all.
Now, when I first saw this tier list, I immediately knew what it was doing. I was like, oh, it's a play on the who has the N-word pass and who doesn't tier list.
No, that is not the same thing. Habibi is a word that means beloved or my friend. And it is commonly used in Israel as well. Habibi is not, the use of Habibi is not restricted to Arabs or Arabic speakers, and it in no way is equivalent to the N-word. There is absolutely no connection between those two things. It is not a fucking slur. It's a term of endearment. God, what an ignorant idiot this guy is.
Granted, Habibi is very different than the N-word, but it is a cultural word amongst Arabic-speaking people and Muslim people. Like, that is a word that's used. Habibi It means my love. Oh no,
Yeah.
don't do that, Habibi. Oh yes, Habibi. You're my Habibi, I'm your Habibi. So yes, it's meant to be a fun way that these Arab content creators can express their Arab culture and be proud of it and happy about it. Because it's not like they have massive representation on the platform.
Making a tier list based on race. And nobody has a fucking problem with that. Okay, you have a tier list based on race.
Exactly.
Where's the Jewish panel? Where's the Jewish panel? Where at the top it says Jewish. It's a tier list based on Arab to Jew. He's Arab, which is good. That's the best thing you can be on this. That's the best. This is racist.
I will say that conveying information through a tier list is not the most effective thing, but Ethan should understand this principle. He did a white slurs tier list with Hassan.
Cracker.
I mean, you know what my take is.
We can't put this as an F. Cracker. I mean, that's got to be at least a D, right?
Pale face motherfucker.
Pale face. I mean, again, I think that's an F. Hog.
So hog is my favorite. I use it all the time.
Him and Hassan feel as though they're white guys, so they felt very comfortable talking about white slurs on their tier list.
Yeah, but the difference was that at TwitchCon, first of all, that was an event that was sponsored by Twitch. It was a corporate event. Okay. Number two, the people at TwitchCon actually put the faces of content creators on every tier. That is also very different. And if you see how it goes from top to bottom and who was ranked at the bottom, you will notice that what a coincidence. The people that they paired together at the bottom.
I think I'm more white than you. What do you think?
I think I'm white. Like, I'm super white.
Can you understand why Arabs might feel comfortable talking about Arab shit on their tier list, Ethan? You're the white guy. You think you're more white than Hassan.
I think I'm more white than you.
So yeah, the white guy.
So it's interesting that when it's convenient for Hassan, he's white, but when he wants to make a point, he's not white. Which one is it, Hassan? Which one is it? Pick a side. Seriously. You know, you're some oppressed Turkish Muslim on the one hand, but on the other hand, no, you're a white guy. This is so stupid. See, this is why all this racial shit is so ridiculous.
I can say all the things that he wants, like Cracker, but the Arabs can't have their tier list.
I would put him also in Arab. I know Turkish people are different.
Notice how they dropped the premise almost immediately that it's about who can say Habibi. And then it's like Hassan, okay, actually he's Arab. We fucking love him. He's dope. He's Arab.
Habibi is an Arabic word. That is an Arabic word, Ethan.
And Hassan is not an Arab. Hassan is Turkish. It's not the same thing. Not the same language. Nothing. So, God, I hate getting into the weeds with these idiots.
Ethan.
Funny about this whole thing is that they say Habibi in Israel. Again, people underestimate just how like mixed Israeli culture is. Like
we say Habibi in Israel. Yes, Ethan. Another piece of evidence as to why it isn't anti-Semitic.
This is racist.
He never said it was anti-Semitic. Where did that come from? He was referring to the tier list, not the word Habibi. This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. Nobody is suggesting that the word Habibi is anti-Semitic. This is why this video is so poorly made and so poorly edited.
You're not Arab or understand Arab culture at all, which is a lot of Americans, and Ethan Klein presents you this tier list and calls it anti-Semitic, you're just going to eat it up. It's not. Ethan is just proving his location on this tier list under Love Sabra because he doesn't understand Arab culture. There's a lot of Arabs who eat Sabra. There's a lot of people like me who eat Sabra. A lot of the times it's all that's in the store, and I'm going to buy it and I'm going to eat it, but it is not the good shit. Like the average Arab American, they're going to go in the store and the only option they have is fucking Sabra. And that sucks that that's the only option, right?
No, there's another option. The other option is that you take chickpeas, cumin, lemon juice, garlic, and olive oil. You whir it up in a food processor. You put some paprika on the top. You put some olive oil on the top, and that is the best hummus that you can buy. Nobody is forcing you to buy Sabra hummus. It's very, very easy to make at home, and it is 1,000 times better than the shit that you buy in the store. But yeah, let's talk about some more persecution, shall we?
Arab communities and distribution facilities are not widespread across the U.S. So what are they left with? They're left with a common, relatable, shitty hummus, which is Sabra. And what's so fucking pathetic about this whole thing is after he was able to get these Arab creators banned off of Twitch for 30 days, he goes on to talk about how bad Sabra hummus is on his show.
I don't think anybody prefers Sabra over homemade like restaurant quality hummus.
Exactly.
It's what's there.
Like weirdly fluffy.
It is
Sabra.
fluffy.
Weird.
Yeah.
I would buy it sometimes and eat it. It's not the best.
The problem is with Sabra, in my opinion, it's only good for the first 2 days.
For some reason, like when you eat this Sabra shit, it just feels so much heavier.
No, they're all missing the point. The point is, A, Sabra is an Israeli hummus, and point number 2 is that Sabra is also a word that is used to describe an individual who was born in Israel. They didn't just pick Sabra out of the clear blue sky. They didn't pick it because it's just because of hummus. They picked it for a variety of reasons. It's a fucking dog whistle. You idiot. Maybe Sam Cedar didn't brief you on this point.
Imagine eating a whole fucking vat of Sabra. That's crazy.
I've never liked hummus.
Oh, good.
Well, you hate Jews then.
I don't.
And Arabs.
Yeah.
This is racist.
Yeah, it's almost like you can have a discussion about Sabra hummus being a bad hummus without it being at all related to a Jewish thing or an Israeli thing.
Oh, really?
He can have that discussion as much as he wants on his podcast because we all know his intentions are anti-Semitic.
This is what he did. He hit his heart hard.
The Zionism is leading to not accepting other cultures, embracing their own culture, and
I beg your
instead
pardon.
thinking that is an attack on you. There's this incident on the podcast where they were reacting to Cutie Cinderella, and Ethan was laughing during it. So that ended up being a pretty important
Oh,
wake-up call for
God.
Ethan.
You're in the room.
Wait,
with me.
I want to go to this part.
Apology in this PowerPoint.
Dude, I got a perfect 10 out of 10. This one is actually
Okay,
best.
this part is just retarded. I don't care about the Cutie Cinderella thing.
He made an apology video directed at Cutie Cinderella, and it was graded by a professional psychologist, Dr. Kirk Honda of Psychology in Seattle. And Ethan...
And Dr. Kirk Honda was dragged into this mess. He's a YouTube therapist. And apparently he is a therapist in real life. His channel is called Psychology in Seattle. And he got dragged into this shit, and I'm going to give you an update as soon as this video is over. We're almost at the end, thank God. We've got 6 minutes left. Let's continue.
got an A+ rating.
In terms of a public apology, this is A+.
Ethan won't stop talking about his A+ rating.
You know he rated my apology to Cutie Cinderella a perfect score? A perfect 10.
A perfect 10 out of 10?
Literally 10 out of 10. Go back. I can teach you how to make a
Right.
good apology. I'm
Right,
the best
10 out of 10.
I know what a perfect apology is, lady. You fucking don't. Is my perfect apology in this PowerPoint?
Dude, I got a perfect 10 out of 10. This one is actually best apology, so. Ethan Klein, you guys, oh my God.
I was trying really hard to think about an impactful moment during this video. Like, could I do something that would really wake Ethan up? And I don't know if this came from a good place or not, but I came up with the idea of getting Ethan's grade changed from an A to a B at least.
How
so I went to visit
embarrassing.
Psychology in Seattle. I'm not confident that Kirk will change his grade, but it's worth trying. And, you know, we might learn a thing or two.
Xander! Probably get pretty low marks. Unlike me, perfect score, 10. I said, hey, Lud, no wig drama. Why are you such a spineless coward of a person now that you've inserted yourself and your girlfriend into this conversation?
Okay, Idubbbz, I hear you. You're in the room with me right now. I hear you. I hear your request. I understand it. I can understand where it's coming from. And I guess have a policy that when there is a grade for an apology, I am just grading that discrete apology as I see it without taking any consideration of prior or future behavior. If you're wanting me to comment on the overall behavior or the recent behavior from the clips that you have shown me, I believe that Ethan is a good person and that eventually he will feel sorrow and will feel sorry and will apologize. And I will be there to evaluate that apology when it happens, which I know it will.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks! Unfortunately, Kirk did not change his grade, but that's okay, because this is the internet. Anyone can have their own official apology rating system, so I'm going to rate Ethan's apology a B-. That's just based on my own feelings and my own rubric. When Psychology in Seattle was watching these video clips of Ethan, he said that it looks like Ethan could just use a hug. Now, of course, it kind of pisses me off to hear that shit, because I'm like, what are we doing? What are we saying? He needs a hug? No, he doesn't need a hug. He needs a good fucking ass whooping is what he needs. I think something that's very important to me in bringing back Content Cop is to be fair. I think that was something that was not illustrated in previous Content Cops that I think should have been and probably wouldn't have left me with so much regret. Ethan deserves all of the criticism that he's getting. I think it's very valid. But I also think, At the end of the day, we should acknowledge that he's human because he is human. And he is in a situation that's making him extremely scared, paranoid, defensive, sensitive, and...
No, he's not paranoid. He has reason to be afraid. That's not paranoia. When shit happens to you and you react to it, that is not paranoia. When something happens in the real world, or you see that you're trying to reach out for help on these platforms and you're not getting a response, or you're getting a shitty response, that's not paranoia. That's reality.
I'm sure other features and feelings. In the spirit of Kirk saying that it looks like Ethan could just use a hug, I have challenged some of his most powerful haters to put down the haterade and just say something nice and charitable about him, because I think he deserves it.
I just wanted to say that I respect that you are genuinely yourself on the internet. I think a lot of other people respect you for it as well. I think that's a big reason why people were drawn to your content in the first place. I think that's a lot of the reason why your employees chose to work with you over anyone else.
Ethan, I think it's respectable that you even began this journey to leave behind the anti-SJW crowd and step into a more empathetic worldview. I know it's not easy.
Ethan Klein, I think that when you are being goofy, when you're being silly, when you are being lighthearted, and just having fun with your friends, I think that is when you're at your best. So I'd love to see more of that. That'd be sick.
I will be reading my letter off because I don't want to sound robotic. H3 used to be the sports figure that I used to watch. I hope that one day gets back to what I remember. You were one of the inspirations for me to start creating content, so all this has stunk. I hope you really hear this, and I wish you the best.
I think Ethan Klein rocks a buzz cut pretty good, and I think he's got a good choice of facial hair. I think it's really cool what he did 8 years ago, fighting that frivolous lawsuit. That was pretty fucked up. And fighting it, he changed YouTube for the better. And I thought that was cool because I thought it was like, he was fighting for free speech.
I also see the dynamic of Ethan and Neil.
Oh, God.
Like, it's really hard to be a couple online and see people attacking your partner. And it's like, okay, like if you come to their defense, if that doesn't always help them, right? Sometimes that makes it worse for them.
And I have been kind of slipping into a very unhealthy place where it's gotten worse and worse, and I get criticized more and more, and I get more defensive and more pulled up, a feeling of almost infallibility that I could take anything on. It led me to make a lot of mistakes, and then when I was criticized for those mistakes, then I would act extremely defensive and nasty and not really processing them in a healthy way.
Okay, well, that's that. That was terrible. And I've got an update on the psychologist. So I do not understand why Idubbbz left that in, because that is so fucking embarrassing on every level. He went to the psychologist because he wanted... This psychologist is apparently known for grading YouTube apologies. And he gave Ethan a very, very high grade on an apology that he issued on his show. Idubbbz's apology for Content Cop and his terrible behavior prior to his Great Awakening didn't receive a very high grade. And he wanted the psychologist to change the grade on Ethan's apology video, which is so petty, so preposterous, so ridiculous. However, what he did was he took a bunch of selective clips to show the psychologist, and the psychologist jumped to a conclusion about Ethan's mental state. Well, after the backlash, the psychologist decided to do some digging, and he uploaded a video which he has since stunningly and bravely deleted, or privated or something. And in the video, he basically apologized to Ethan Klein. I guess he and Ethan Klein had a conversation. And he realized, wow, there's another side to this story. And Idubbbz just forgot to mention CPS, just like he forgot to mention CPS in this shitty Content Cop video. He forgot to mention a couple of other salient events that might have led Ethan to behave in a certain way. And he felt like he had been deceived. And he backed down from his initial namby-pamby, oh, he needs a hug, and he's just going to apologize and all that. So in addition to making a complete fool out of himself, Idubbbz that is, he put a dent in the reputation of this psychologist who never should have gotten involved in this idiocy to begin with. And apparently the psychologist had absolutely no idea that their conversation was going to be part of a content cop. So good work, Idubbbz. And as I said at the beginning of the stream, this has backfired spectacularly. Idubbbz did not mend his reputation online. The comeback has been widely criticized, and Idubbbz and his wife are being labeled as terrible friends, backstabbers, opportunists, clout chasers. So, good work. And Ethan didn't even have to lift a finger. So, absolutely ridiculous and embarrassing all the way around. Okay, guys, I am going to cut it off here. Yes, permanent record, he did. It is embarrassing. The whole spectacle has been embarrassing. And Nicholas DiOrio has done multiple streams on the video, the fallout, etc. And I highly recommend Nicholas DiOrio's streams on this subject because he's got a great sense of humor and because he drags Idubbbz and Anissa appropriately, and now he's focusing on Creator Clash 3, which seems to be headed towards disaster, again, just like the last one. Anyway, I want to thank everybody for being here today. I know this was kind of a long one. I appreciate it. And I will dig up a really good topic for the next stream. And I will see all of you the next time. Thank you so much to Jen and Anna for buying memberships. I appreciate it. And I will see you guys the next time. See you later, guys.
Other side.